Hey guys, I'm Young, a full time dad and a full time professional with the goal to become the best parent possible. The Girl Dad Show is my journey interviewing fellow working parents aspiring to be both good at work and parenting. I'm going to do this by gathering and sharing unfiltered perspectives from my guests. So join me as I research parenthood one interview at a time. Zucchinis? Give me the paper. Nice.
I love you, Texas.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. Mike, I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to spend some time with me and join me on my podcast and share some of your parenting stories with my listeners.
Thanks. My pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Let's get right into it. So, I'd love to just start off by asking you, what do you do for a living and where are you at right now?
Yeah, so I'm here in the Bay Area and I am a cinematographer and editor for, well, I started out independent, but now I am a co-founder of Flippered Films. And we're a video production media agency and we're just holding it down. And that's what I do for a living.
That's awesome. It's funny because we work together
Mhm.
on Flippered Films, and I'm obviously, working with you with your business. And it's funny to hear you talk about Flippered Films. I don't know if I've ever actually asked you how you describe it, so that was really fun for me to listen to how you describe what you do there. And I like that you focused on how you hold it down more than anything. That's awesome. And then, so what are some of the projects that you're working on, and what are some of the big things that Flippered Films is doing right now?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, right now we're really trying to find a strong balance between doing things that are creative and other things that just sort of keep the house lights on.
Yeah.
Right now we just worked on a few projects with Visby Medical, and that's a medical diagnostic testing company. They are helping to solve issues with COVID and just revolutionizing the way that they are able to test things faster. And I really didn't think about the projects here. What the hell do I work on?
Well, maybe it's not the projects. Maybe you just talked about the big thing you're working on right now is just kind of like the polarity and the tension between doing things that's creative, but also doing things that's good for the business, right? Like I know that that's a big hardship for a lot of aspiring professionals of like finding that balance of like craft versus money and like what that balance is. And it's very indicative of the same conversation that I want to have with you about being a parent and being a professional.
Mm,
So that could be in itself the big project. I don't know. Like I don't feel like you need to tell us exactly what projects you're working on, but maybe
yeah,
at Flipboards itself, is there something that you are tackling right now that you like
yeah,
you
that's
want to share?
true. Yeah, I mean the big project really is that we just launched our company about a year ago, and we were just a bunch of creatives, a bunch of filmmakers who were sort of navigating things ourselves. But then we had so much in common. Jordan Ching and Lorenzo Escalante, we got together and created Flippered Films a year ago. And the reason why we did that was mainly because we wanted to share something and create something larger than ourselves. And we want to create stories that are, on Netflix or Amazon Prime. We want to make movies, honestly. And in order to do that, we can't just jump straight forward to that. So we're building our company out and servicing different industries out there just to create videos to promote different brands and companies out there.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. And I have a lot of insight on the business because I've been basically like been coaching you guys for
Hmm. A
the
lot.
vast majority of your inception, and it's been really really fun. And I think that it's an incredible journey that you guys are on, and it's been really really exciting and fun for me to be a part of it. So I think it's cool to share with people like how busy you are, and I think it's important that they understand the context of like how you're juggling with this new business venture as an
Hmm.
entrepreneur, as a creative, as a business owner, while you also became a new dad, right? And so
Hmm.
I think that that's really interesting because the biggest thing that I'm trying to unpack here with this podcast is
Hmm.
figuring out how other ambitious and successful professionals are navigating parenthood and juggling between those two things and like where are they finding the balance in that. And so that's really the whole point of this podcast for me, and I think you fit that mold perfectly because you're a prime example of someone that's going to achieve bigger things by starting a business and something that you love. And you guys are crushing it. I mean, quite
Hmm.
frankly, Flippers is kind of crushing it. So it's a really exciting time to be talking to you about this. But and yeah, sorry for I have like inside information, so I just wanted to
Hmm.
elaborate a little
Thank
bit and
you.
tell everybody because you're being a little too modest at how much you guys have grown in a very short amount of time and how fast Flippers has escalated in its business ventures, revenue, top line growth, and profitability, and all of the above. So, anyways, let's go into the other parts of it. So, tell me about your kid.
Yeah, now that you talk about it, I totally forgot about how this all works. So with my kid and Flippered Films, they like pretty much birthed around the same time. Flipper Film started maybe in about September 2019. And
Yeah.
then it didn't really ramp up. We started working with you in maybe March of 2020. And my son was born right before COVID, about February 22nd, 2020. So if you look at the timeline, as soon as we had him, we had to stay indoors. We couldn't see anyone. We couldn't see parents. We didn't want to, we wanted to be very safe. And in general, when you have a child, they tell you like, don't let them see too many people in general. But with COVID, it makes it even more, a little bit
Right.
terrifying,
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, that being said, I started out, planning to just take a month off, like let me be present for my family, be there, enjoy raising this child. And then it turned into, as a freelancer, you only eat what you kill or the money you make at the time. So it was just really scary because we didn't work for maybe like 6 months, and navigating through that was not sleeping, having a child, understanding that aspect. And then also like, how do we make money? How do we find anything when no one can do any video production? It was really daunting. It was a challenging time.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to think that this was all like this business like started and then immediately after you had a baby and then the pandemic hit. Yeah, I do remember that. I remember like joining the crew as you guys were coming off of a really weird spell of not being able to actually work because of the pandemic. Talk about trials and tribulations on top of juggling parenthood. So tell me about your son. Let's talk about your son a little bit. Like, how old is he now? You said February 20th, right? So what does that
Yeah.
make him? A year and a month or something, or year? No,
Yeah,
year and a
pretty
couple
close.
months.
14 months. Yeah, he'll be 15 months in about a week from this recording. He
Oh,
just
man.
started walking last week.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I would say we're a little bit different than most parents. I mean, just to touch on that, he's
Yeah.
been vegan we've been feeding him vegan meals. He's only tried salmon once. And we were like, no, we'll just stick to just a plant-based diet. So he's been doing that. And we have our own pediatrician. We went through a private practice for that. And she not only monitors just like his height and his health and how he's doing, but also his developmental process and his diet. So it's been great. And we've been just going strong being vegan this whole time. And he seems happy. He eats just as much food as anyone. His grandparents were very scared that we thought we were crazy.
Yeah.
But a lot of people think we're a little nuts. But I just feel strongly that he's benefiting from this diet and he's really healthy and he's been developing very well.
Yeah. And is there science that proves otherwise? I've never even actually heard of going vegan for kids. So yeah, where'd you even come up with this? And do you know if it's safe? Like, have you like did I'm assuming you did the research, like.
Yeah, with the grace of YouTube, we've been doing a ton of research from other vegan parents. If we look around my friends and family, there's not many vegans, but there's a whole community of us on YouTube. And a lot of parents are just, strongly taking care of their kids in this plant-based way. His diet works with, we have celery juice in the morning. First we do water and then we have celery juice, just straight celery juice. He drinks it on his own.
Wow.
And then, half of it goes on his shirt, of course, but he's practicing.
Yeah.
And then we have a smoothie that's just all fruits and vegetables. And then from there on, he'll just have he pretty much eats what we eat. And is it safe? I mean, he's 14 months strong and everything has been going great. The pediatrician has been, she's very aware of different diets and she is just making sure everything works. She told us she slowly had us introduce different foods. I can't remember which ones, but okay, try strawberries. All right, his cheeks are red. That's okay, but just notice that citrus foods are going to make his cheeks a little bit more red.
Yeah.
And then just different items okay, give him broccoli, but make sure it's steamed so that it's very soft so he can eat that on his own. So yeah, we've been monitoring it. It was a little bit scary, especially more scary for the grandparents, but everything's been going great.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I've never heard of that before. So it's really cool to hear that you're successfully navigating it. Yeah, it's just one of those things that I don't know if anybody's ever really, in my circle of spirit, a circle of friends that has done that. So that's really interesting. Very cool, man. And then you've been doing that too, right? Like you added that as an added aspect of your crazy year that you've had with the pandemic, right? Like you just recently did that, I feel like, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I've been eating predominantly like vegan, but like off and on. I would cheat when I was going to work and such a year ago, I'd eat whatever. But then last November, I had, from all the stress of not sleeping and just my imbalance of what I was eating, I had got this tough staph infection. And it was just like this really, like, all these like bumps and irritation on my face. And it was like one of the hardest things I've ever had to deal with. So, of course, I went to the doctor. You mentioned to do it, and it took me about a month to finally come around. He's like, you're so like, Mike, look at your face. You need to get help. And I was like, what do you mean? And I stubbornly kept going. And I was like, and he's like, it was more serious than I thought. Thank you, Young,
Yeah.
for caring about me.
Yeah, I'm like, what do you mean? Look in the mirror. I can like see your face. It's not right. Oh man,
Yeah,
it's
it
too
was
funny.
pretty bad. I went to the
Yeah,
dermatologist.
there you
I
go.
did blood tests. All my blood was good, by the way. Like the
Nice.
doctor is like, you have no fat from this vegan diet and everything's strong. We don't know what's going on. Then I
Yeah.
took antibiotics because I had to because I had a staph infection. So that helped kill that. But I still had like a lot of rashes and irritation and things weren't like fully going away. So from that moment, I just decided I'm going to like get up and get off of the couch and not feel sorry for myself, be
Yeah.
strong, eat healthy, and just I'm just going to go for this plant-based diet because my partner is very strong about it and she's been doing it. And I haven't looked back since. It's about 5 months strong, and I don't think I'm
It's
going to look
amazing.
back. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. And I wonder how much of that stress was coming from being a new dad or because like, you're trying to build a business during the pandemic.
All of
Yeah.
that killed me. I was trying to wake up at 5 in the morning. I was
We were
sleeping at
hustling.
like
We were
2.
hustling hard. Yeah,
Yeah, we were
we were
hustling hard. I was running
yeah,
marketing, and we were doing outbound
that's right.
sales, trying to talk to as many people.
That's right.
By the way, thank you. You were the one that was strong. Like, we're gonna get through this. We're gonna
That's
keep
right.
calling people.
Oh,
We're gonna find
thank you.
work. But I did my best with that. I wanted to support the mother and support my son. I would get up in the middle of nights and help change the diapers. But in the end, all that stress really just got me hard, and I just got sick.
Like if you could parse it out, what do you think? Like if you had to say like what do you think the division was? You think it's even 50-50 or do you think it was more being a dad, new dad or do you think it's more the trying to build a business during the pandemic? What do you think
Mm,
caused more of it?
yeah, I think it all just like was a weight on my shoulders. I mean, I wasn't
Yeah.
making as much money at the time, and I think that mentally does take a toll on you. Not sleeping is so obvious, but we don't realize it. I mean, we're all like overachievers. So I think that really knocked me up, beat me up. And
Yeah.
I think it all just like snowballed and finally like trying to be Superman just didn't work out.
Yeah, it's hard. Like I mean, it's like so funny to think about like the pandemic being just last year because it's like I like forget in some ways, you know, it's which is crazy because like now this has become so normal. But you like it was just last year that we couldn't work, and a lot of
Mhm.
people were like immediately unemployed and or unemployable, and like it's so funny to like that it's all kind of just like gone in memory. And
Mhm.
thanks for reminding me because that's a really good point that like you were dealing with a lot and
Mhm.
as a business owner and as a new father, but you definitely muscled through it and you're sitting really pretty now. Flippers is crushing it. So I'm
Yeah,
glad
we
that
are.
we persevered and you're doing good. You're healthy
Mhm.
and your kid looks great. I mean, he's like he's big and strong and happy and he has great hair and so it's
Pretty
awesome.
good hair.
Yeah, he has great hair. We could talk about his hair the whole time. Actually, he has great hair. But that being said, I'd love to actually talk to you about your childhood. I feel
Mhm.
like parenting has a lot to do with how you were brought up, like how you were a
Mhm.
parent and how you value parenting versus work. And so it'd be great to talk through that a little bit so I can learn a little bit more about you. And that's something that I actually don't know about. So do you mind sharing with me? What's your childhood like?
Yeah, I mean, so my mother is Filipino, and then my stepdad is white and Japanese. And most of my cultural upbringing is Filipino, so we had a lot of the Filipino diet and a lot of the values that Filipinos have. Other than that, I grew up in sort of like the suburb area. I mean, I don't know if you know if it's suburbs, but San Lorenzo, which is near San Leandro and Oakland, it's
Yeah,
not too
yeah.
bad at all.
Yeah.
And I feel like my upbringing is pretty safe in my neighborhood, and nothing was too bad. But what I noticed is that my dad, he had a pretty tough upbringing because he grew up in Oakland and grew up, something similar to your upbringing, just a very challenging environment. And because of that, he probably had a lot of abuse in his life, and he didn't want that to happen to me. So he went extra hard to spoil the heck out of me
Mm.
and just give me so much love. If I wanted Burger King, McDonald's, he's getting it. So I got spoiled so hard, and I feel like I just got so overweight from all that. And because of that,
Were
I'm
you
just
overweight as a kid?
yeah, in high school and
Oh
through
man,
like
I gotta see
beginning of
pictures,
college.
brother.
I'll
Yeah,
send
you
you
gotta.
pictures.
Yeah, please. I gotta see these pictures. That sounds
Yeah,
great.
yeah,
Yeah.
we're gonna dig those up. But because of that, I just feel like I want a stronger balance. So my son's vegan. We just want to steer away from that really unhealthy diet that kids are receiving because we want to love our kids, but we just give them all the sugar. But there's other ways to love them and give them good experiences. And so that, and then I just want a little bit more of a balance of not disciplining them, like making them stay in the corner, but just really giving them what they want, but also giving them what they need as well.
Wow, I love it. So there's a lot to unpack there because yeah, but you're basically talking about like how your childhood has like you're copying some of those aspects, but you're also making it your own. For example, like you got spoiled, but you got spoiled with like fatty foods and like Mickey D's and stuff. And so you're like you want to do that, but you're also trying to like improve upon that, right? And so you're trying to raise your kid up with a healthier diet and then some boundaries.
Yeah, exactly. I just want to,
Did you feel like you didn't have boundaries growing up?
not really. I mean, it was just like, hey, don't do that. But like, I feel like my spoiled ass in college did whatever I want, and then like it caught up to me. There's just like
Tell me about it. Yeah, I want to know like what you think that impacted you on. Like,
all right. I mean,
because
just being
dude,
more
I'm
open.
raising 2 girls right now, right? I'm like trying to be the best dad in the world. That's my whole motive here is to like learn how other parents are navigating parenthood because
Okay.
there's no playbook for this, man. Let's just talk
Yeah.
about it. Yeah, like, let's talk about
All right,
how do you think that
fine.
impacted you? Yeah.
I'll be a little more vulnerable. Like one really big like example is like my dad bought me this really nice Subaru WRX in college, in high
Nice.
school. It's
Nice.
a bomb ass car.
Hell
And
yeah.
my dumb ass is going through college and having all this fun. And guess what I didn't do? I didn't change the oil. And I wasn't changing the oil. And I was driving this car around, and this expensive, beautiful, fast car eventually broke down on the road. And that's when reality hit me like, hey, they gave you this car, got you through college, and they gave me all these things. And I didn't like realize like, hey man, you need to like take care of yourself. And I didn't understand for a long time, like in college, that you're an adult. Like that stuff just didn't hit me. Like it took me like till I was 25 for people to be like, Mike, you're an adult. Hey, you need to take care of yourself. So something like that, I think is like, wasn't just that moment. I think it was just like slowly like things happening to the point where, you make a mistake like that. And I just want to teach my son just to be a little bit more responsible about things and be a little bit more caring about what he has and all that.
Do you think some of that's impacted you at work? Do you feel like some of that stuff parlays into your business?
In my business?
Yeah. Do you have that laissez-faire because of like your upbringing, or do you feel like you're actually more caring or like more thoughtful about what you have because of that experience?
I think so. I mean, I've learned a lot from that. I mean, I get very embarrassed actually to talk to people about that. Like, oh, what happened to your car? You didn't change your oil, you dumbass.
Oh,
But
got it. Like it's an actual like thing for you. Like you're actually embarrassed about the fact.
I'm totally embarrassed.
You
That's
took it for
so
granted.
bad.
Like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah. Huh.
I mean, it's
That's
just like,
interesting.
no,
Yeah.
I just feel so bad because it's like I think our parents like work so hard and they don't let you know like what they've done. Like whether it's just
Yeah.
like we don't I understand now. I value how much how hard it is to be a parent, and our parents don't really tell us that. They just do it and they just like kind of suck it up and act like nothing's going on.
Yeah.
But I just appreciate that, and like making a car payment for your son's car, like that's like insane. Like I can't believe like I just took that. Like now that I pay my own bills and I'm responsible, I'm like, wow, that's a lot right there.
Got it. So in retrospect, as you get older and as you're starting to like soak up these costs yourself, and as you're starting to like think about your kid, you're starting to like have the retrospect of it. But you had this epiphany back then as well too. It sounds like.
I
So you
think
started
so.
yeah. But you're embarrassed about it. That's weird. I mean, that's not weird. Sorry, I shouldn't say that. But it's like, what are you embarrassed about? So what? You had a good life. I mean, that's not a bad thing, right? Like,
I think you're right. Maybe you're helping me heal right now. It's not so bad.
Like,
But
why is there an insecurity? Like, did you like, I don't know, there should be no insecurity. I mean, like, your parents provided you a great environment to live in where they spoiled you rotten. I mean, you turned out fine. I mean, you're a
yeah,
hustler, you're gritty, like, you work hard. I mean, God, you work really hard and you're building a really successful business. So obviously it's turned out okay for you. And so I don't know. I don't feel like that's a weird thing to get spoiled or have a
yeah, you're
good
probably right. I
childhood.
think it was just an expensive lesson, and that's all.
They could have
Yeah,
just changed the oil and then get it running again.
could have just changed the oil. It got to the point where the whole engine just died, and it wasn't.
Oh God.
That's why it was embarrassing.
Oh, that is really embarrassing. Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
that makes
See,
sense.
do
Okay,
you see
got it.
where? Yeah,
Yeah, I see where you're coming from now.
yeah.
Okay.
It was pretty. The whole car is dead. It's gone. This is a beautiful car.
Oh, that's funny. Were you like 16, 17? What?
No, this is more like 23. That's how dead.
Oh God. Okay.
Yeah. See, you see where the embarrassment is with that.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Let's.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to see. I mean, you asked me like how does it tie into with my work world, but I mean, my parents didn't really teach me a lot about business. I feel like, mentors like have helped me a lot with that, and
Yeah.
guidance along the way
Are
helped
you
me a
gonna
lot
teach
more
your
with
son
that.
about business?
I think I am. I think I'm going to teach him everything I know, but I'm afraid because I'm a basketball holic that he's going to get caught up in my whirlwind of being obsessed with learning how to play basketball.
Yeah.
I think
What if he wants to be a basketball player? What are you gonna say?
I'll probably just provide him with everything he needs to do it and get him some coaches. But I do want him to just have a good balance of, like maybe business is good, understanding how business works. And I mean, I don't think I even thought about this, but I think it's very important that we teach our children more about finances and how to be responsible because they're not teaching that in high school or college
No.
at all.
No,
And
yeah, absolutely not. Yeah. I feel like I didn't really learn it until I was in my 30s. So,
yeah,
yeah, absolutely not. Yeah. So, what if you're like, what about like what if your son wants to do what you do? Would you be cool with that?
I would be so honored and delighted. I want to be prepared that it doesn't happen, but I do hear they do pick up on your hobbies.
Yeah.
And hopefully he doesn't have this expensive taste that I have of wanting like
With
the
all the
best things.
camera.
Yeah, actually that's one thing I would say like because of my mom and like all the like the things I got, I feel like I have a spending issue before where like I always want like the nicest things, whether it's the nicest camera or this and that. And now that I have my son and we have to have a budget and I can't just buy the nicest things. And that was a maturity thing too, is just to not just keep buying things and just be mature and just buy the essential items for the family.
Man, I like I love it. So it sounds like you're gonna like teach your kid a lot of the stuff that you feel like you wish you did better, or you knew better. That's
Yeah.
basically how you're thinking
Mhm.
about parenting, then, huh?
I think
Have
so.
you been doing a lot more retrospective, like introspection over the last like year, based on the fact that like, because it sounds like you've been thinking a lot about your childhood. Sounds like this question is actually like, sounds like you've been
Yeah,
thinking through this a lot.
I think so. I mean, I didn't really realize it, but yeah, the appreciation of how hard it is for sure.
Yeah,
That and then just being connected with the grandparents or my parents is beautiful, and just seeing that. And you do reflect a lot on just your own upbringing and how it's built you, but also like I guess that's true. Any like errors or mistakes that you had in your life, you kind of want your son or daughter or your children just to not make those same mistakes as long as they're not too costly, of course.
yeah. Let's talk about the end result of all of this. So, how do you qualify successful parenting? What do you think a successful
Hmm.
parent is to you?
There really is no playbook, like you said. In my opinion, just any parent who's like there as much as they can. I mean, this is a challenge in general because if you have work, you have to be at work to make a living, to take care of your child. So it's really hard for the dynamic if someone has to work more. But I think as long as you're making that very strong effort to be present with your child, I think that's a great parent. Just being present and making that effort.
Nice. And then what happens if it conflicts with work, which it often does these days for you? How
Yeah.
do you justify that? How do you wrestle with that?
Yeah. That's a very tough balance. I mean,
So are you failing parenting right now based on your own standards?
I feel like every time I'm killing it at being a parent, I'm getting in trouble at work. And then when I'm killing it at work, I'm getting in trouble by the mother that I'm not being there for my son. I'm like, I don't know how to win here, guys. It really is true. It's a balancing act. And
I love that
yeah,
statement. Yeah, that's a really good statement and point because I think that that's literally what I am trying to figure out, right?
Mhm.
Like, how do you balance that? That's really it, because I don't want to stop hustling and I don't want to stop growing
Mhm.
professionally. And I definitely want to continue to grow my business and, like my aptitude for my professional aspirations. But
Mhm.
I also don't want to, I also want to like, be a really great parent. I don't want to stop being a great parent
Absolutely.
and have that focus on that. And it shouldn't be binary in my opinion. And there's got to be a way to balance this out. And it's just like really fun to like talk to other parents about this problem. And you just hit the problem right on the smack head, which is
Mhm.
great. How do you qualify success in business? If you
As a
qualify time, if you qualify time and being there for your kid as successful parenting, how do you qualify successful business?
well, business is different, and I've learned a lot. And unfortunately, I think it really is about how what kind of numbers you're putting out there. And because who gives a shit if you're putting all this time and not making any money? Then it doesn't do anything. I've probably learned that from you.
It's just a hobby.
Yeah, it's just an expensive hobby at that point. But
That's
as a
terrible. It sounds
yeah,
awful. It makes me
it
sound
sounds
like a total shark, but you've also
hey,
become more of a shark than anybody in this
yeah,
room.
yeah, that's probably right. I mean, once you started telling me about it was hard to stomach when you're like, I don't care about the art. We just need to be successful. But I'm like, but what about the art? There is a strong balance with that too. I mean, from a parent, a successful business is one that provides for your family. And Flipboard Films is a media production company, and we're doing a lot of stuff ourselves, like handling everything from the marketing to the outbound, just to everything. But ultimately, we're gonna continue to build it. We have 5 employees, but if we can get to 10 or 15, and like 10 years from now, I won't have to work as hard and I can be present for my family even more. So, in a very simplified version, a successful business as a parent is one that provides your income for your family. And that's more than enough for me. But if we can get it to where I can just go chill later and take my kids on vacation and go to t-ball practice, I'll take that as a very successful business.
Nice. So being able to truncate your time, truncate your effort and work, and then turn your business into a cash flow business, essentially, that would be success for you. That's really great that you can qualify that. But I love how specific you can name your success. That's all possible, by the way. And I actually don't, I mean, just because I know the business so well, I don't think that that's 15 years out. I actually think you're actually like maybe half of that time or less.
Let's make it
If
happen,
you,
young.
yeah, if you really wanted it. I don't know if your
Mhm.
co-founders are going to want that. I think they're going to want to keep growing it. I
Mhm.
think that if that's what you qualify success, that's really magical, because I don't think people know how to do that. Like, I don't know if people actually ever like sit down and go like, hey, what is success for me in this? What does my
Mhm.
professional success look like? And so it's really cool that you're able to articulate that. That's actually pretty impressive and neat. I like it. I'm going to go jump into a couple rapid fire questions
Mhm.
that I want to ask every parent slash professional navigating this journey of being a parent and a workforce member. And then we'll wrap it up here. Okay. What advice do you have for other parents and soon to be parents,
What advice would I give to soon-to-be parents?
or other
Um,
parents? Yeah.
or other parents? I think if you're going to be a parent, the most obvious thing they say is to get a lot of sleep. But also, I think you should stack that money, because something like a COVID or something like that can happen and really put you back on your butt. So stack that cash as much as you can. Swallow your pride and have a baby shower for sure, and get a list of things you need, because that was humbling too, just to feel that overwhelming love from family and friends. Like, everyone really like takes that village mindset and gives things to help out. So that like almost brings a tear in my eye. So there's no way to be prepared. As a dad, you kind of just have to wing it and just be there for your partner and be supportive as much as you can. And don't show that you're scared, because they're going to be a little bit scared. So you got to just be strong and just keep pushing and just be there for your family.
That's awesome. Wow, those are some really tactical, specific advices.
Stack that
I,
money.
I love it. I love it. It's great. I actually totally agree with the don't act scared thing either, because I completely agree with that sentiment. I feel like the thing that you got to remember is that like it's kind of a journey for all new parents, but just parenting in general. But I feel like there's a lot of chemical things happening in the women's body, and
Yeah.
like you need to be stable and really strong as much as possible. because they're not just dealing with the emotional and mental, they're also dealing with it physiologically. There's like literally chemical stuff happening. And I remember like it's really hard to control those emotions based on how your body's feeling. So that's a really good piece of advice for dads, because I think a lot of dads feel a lot really lost about how to be a dad,
Yeah.
during that stage,
Yeah. I want to add something else. Yeah. And then once you have the child, like being like myself, we're practicing being vegan and we're trying things like the Montessori way and baby led weaning, which you can look up. They're all on YouTube. But just be aware, like we're in a society that's like extremely judgmental, and like you can catch yourself comparing yourself all the time or judging people. Like I don't know what our society is about, but we all do it. Just be comfortable with who you are as a parent and just know that you're doing the right thing. Just being there for your child and doing the obvious thing, like feeding them, changing their diapers. And if you have to turn social media off for someone you care about, like is showing that their child is hitting different milestones, just know that your child's on their own trajectory and their own plan, and just don't let that bother you, because they're just kids, man. They're just trying to grow, and like don't let social media mess up your mind, and don't let people dictate how you feel and grow and raise your child is what I want to let people know.
I love that, man. And that might actually be the same answer as the next question, because it's kind of along the same thread. But like, it's so important that you just said that, because that's not just for kids, man. That's also for us. Like, I feel like we even fall prey to that so much. Social media can be very, very dangerous in like our mental health and our happiness. So I think I just can't even imagine what it's like for kids growing up. So yeah, absolutely. And then this is totally separate, but I didn't know you were doing Montessori. I'm working with Monty Kids, a company that makes Montessori toys.
I think I saw that and I wanted to jump in there.
Right.
I was like, hey.
Yeah, I'm going to send you that link so you can check them out, because they have a really cool subscription program where you can like basically go through guided curriculum with toys, Montessori based toys that teach your kids self-play. It's pretty cool. But I'll send you that link. And maybe I'll put it in the podcast, because this is a podcast. That'll be awesome.
No, that's our next sponsor. No.
There we go. That's right. In the YouTube channel. Okay. So if you could go back and tell yourself one thing before having kids, what would it be?
That's a tough one. Definitely don't put pressure on yourself, and just, there's no way to be prepared. I mean, they're going to say that all the time, and just have fun with it, man. Like, don't think that like, oh my God, this kid, like, it'll be all right. They'll sleep as long as you're careful. I just remember like the times where you just have the child, you put it down, you're like, is it breathing? Is it sleeping? But just know that everything is going to be okay, and just call your parents and show that love and ask for advice always from everyone.
Love it. I love it. All right. What is your all-time favorite business book?
All-time favorite business book? I don't have a lot of them, but I'm currently reading a book called Win Without Pitching, which is very important right now. It's helping a lot because we're really hitting up a lot of people that are up there. And the value of Win Without Pitching is that as a creative, we get so worked up with making these proposals and spending 2 weeks making a proposal just for them to look at it and saying that we don't want it. So the whole purpose of the book is just being able to have a strong dialogue with your client or potential client, and being an expert in that field and being able to navigate that into a good deal where everyone wins.
Oh my gosh, I love it. That's great. I'll have to check that book out, because I think everyone can learn something from that, or can use more of that. So that's great. Great answer. I've never heard that book. I've never heard of that book either. So I'll check it out. Last question before I let you get out of here. What is the most surprising thing that you learned about yourself as a parent?
I think I definitely found a softer side of myself. My son, he was born here at the house, which is a whole big story. We did a home birth.
No way.
Which we probably should talk about briefly, but
yes, we totally should talk about.
I totally skipped that part. So we chose because, as you can see, we're vegan. We're a little bit like hesitant on the hospital thing, which I learned is still valuable. But
yeah,
we did a home birth, which was all successful. But he did have an infection. He was like a little bit shy of 5 pounds. So the next day, our midwife told us like we should go to the hospital. So we went to the Oakland Children's Hospital, and we had him there for 10 days. And I just found like this softer side of myself, because I was just so like scared, like to see like this child, from first holding him and being safe at home to like seeing them with the IV on, and like seeing this like this little baby that's yours, just like in a whole different scenario, hearing the beeping noises. That was just like humbling and showed the softer side of myself. And just, I don't know. I just found that, and then I just learned like just to believe in God more, which I was very more less of that faith being, but just everything became more stronger in me just from like my caring, my love, and just my care for my partner, our communication. And I just saw this other softer side of me that I didn't realize I had.
Wow. That's amazing, man. So you got in touch with your emotional side. That's great.
Yeah, which is pretty valuable as men, just to really
Yeah.
get in touch with your emotional side because we're just so raised to be like strong, like John Wayne, or like not show our emotions, but really like I'm learning that people are having like book clubs for like men, and the dad is important too. Like we hold it down, and like it's really stressful. And I really appreciate all the mothers out there, and they have the hardest job, but being a father is just it's not
Oh
easy
yeah.
either, like they forget
Yeah.
about us.
That's yeah. It's easy to say that when there's just two dads here, but yes, I agree with you. Let's try to say that when our wives are here, because then our bitches will say something totally different, or at least I'll say something different. I'll completely disagree with you. Whatever.
I know
You're on
you
your own.
always sell out.
You're on
It's
your
supposed
own,
to be a
bro. You're on
dad's
your own.
club.
That's right. You're on your own. When Amy's here, yeah. Hey, so can we talk about the home birth? Because I didn't realize you did that.
Yeah, dude. We should talk about it.
That's wild. What the heck? So like I've
Yeah.
heard about this. And did you use a doula
Mhm.
too, or just the midwife?
We didn't do the doula. We did the midwife. So doula sort of like coaches you through things and like goes with you to the hospital usually and just like helps you with the decisions. Like, oh, do you want an epidural or this and that? But the midwife is like a little bit different where they straight up help you with the birthing of the child. So we went on leading up to the actual birth. We had monthly meetings that became, and then closer bi-weekly meetings, just to check on everything, see how the baby is and her stomach, train us, be ready, how I can help and be ready. So it's this whole like coaching and like more higher care, just loving care for my partner. And she liked it a lot because she's more holistic. And it was just night and day just for us to do that versus going to a gynecologist who scared the crap out of her because
Mm.
we told her like, hey, because they said like, hey, you have to have a midwife. And she was like, oh no, the midwife. And then there's like a rule where you have to like go see a gynecologist. So we went to see this gynecologist and she like was looking my partner in the eye and like, on birth, it's dangerous, and scared the crap out of her. It was like, don't do it. She's all pumped up. You should go to a hospital. And I was like, whoa, why'd you do that? We've been like getting mentally like ready for this, and you did that. I kind of like rambled there about like the whole midwife thing, but basically we had the midwife, and then quick birth story is basically we're getting close to the time that she's gonna have the baby, and then the midwife and everyone is like, oh yeah, you'll probably be having your child in about 2 or 3 days. And she's over here like, no, I think it's coming soon. So everyone leaves, and I'm just there with her. And all of a sudden, she starts like breathing heavily and everything at the house. Next thing you know, it's like I'm holding two phones. She's over there like breathing hard, and like the whole thing is getting crazy. And I'm calling people like, yo, you need to come here. I think she's having the baby now.
Yeah.
So the midwife's like, I'm coming now. And I was like maybe 20 minutes away from birthing the baby myself, but luckily the midwife came in time and helped us get the baby out and everything.
Why were you holding two phones? What was the two phones part of the story?
Well, I don't know how it was with your wife, but like I did anything for the pregnant woman, but she's just like asking us to do whatever she needs. She's like, call my best friend. I need to talk to her now. I'm like, I'm calling her right now. I know, call the midwife, call your mom. I'm like, I'm just doing whatever the hell she says. And that's why I had two phones in my hand. I was like, I'm going to play some music on Spotify so you feel good. She's like, I don't like that song. And I changed the song. I'm like, how about this song? And I got her mom on the other phone. And that's why I had two phones. Because I was going crazy listening.
Now I get the two phone comment. I'm like, what's the significance of the two phones?
I don't know what to do. I'm just doing whatever she says.
Oh, that's the story of my life too. I just do whatever she says. Yeah, that's too funny. It's just hyper escalated during crisis like
exactly.
that. Yeah. Oh man, that was a really great story. Thank you for sharing that with me. I appreciate it. I didn't know that about you, so that's really cool. And now I know someone that's done a home birth. Yay!
Yes. And if anyone wants to do a home birth, hit me up and I'll be more happy to let you know how it worked out for us, because I think it is definitely a safe and wonderful and comforting way to have your child outside of the hospital if you're thinking about doing that.
Nice. Yeah, I'll add your contact on the link to the channel and the so everyone can reach out to you about how your home birth experience was. But thanks for taking the time to spend with me today and getting to talk to me a little bit about business, life, home birth,
Mhm.
and yeah, and just how you thinking about being a parent and just all your thoughts around this. And so thanks for taking the time, man.
Thanks, Young. This was fun.
Yeah, thank you. It was fun. I'll talk to you soon. Okay.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of The Girl Dad Show. We hope you enjoyed that interview. And if you want to subscribe to our email list and learn more, you can head over to thegirldadshow.com. Thank you and see you next time.